Welcome back to the channel. Today we're venturing into the realm of the simulation hypothesis, the mind-bending theory that proposes we could be living inside a computer-generated reality. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like something straight out of the Matrix. But what if I told you that this idea is not just sci-fi, but something top philosophers, scientists, and even tech entrepreneurs like Elon Musk are seriously debating? In fact, some believe there's a better chance that we are living in a simulation than that we aren't. Crazy, right? Ready to question your entire existence? The idea that we're living in some sort of illusion isn't new. It's been around in popular culture and philosophy for ages. From The Matrix to Inception, sci-fi has been obsessed with alternate realities, dream worlds, and simulations. But it's not just fiction. Philosophers like René Descartes questioned the nature of reality long before computers even existed. The modern simulation hypothesis, though, really started gaining traction in 2003, when philosopher Nick Bostrom published his famous paper, Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? His argument was, if it's possible for a future civilization to simulate conscious beings in a virtual world, then it's statistically likely we're already living in one of those simulations. Bostrom proposed 3 possibilities for the future of intelligent civilizations. All civilizations go extinct before they develop the technology to simulate realities. Civilizations get that advanced, but choose not to create simulations for ethical or other reasons. Civilizations do develop this technology and create a huge number of simulations. And if that's the case, there are likely far more simulated realities than real ones. Which means, statistically, we're probably living in a simulation right now. Crazy, right? Now you're probably wondering, how on earth could we possibly prove something like this? After all, if we're inside the simulation, wouldn't it be almost impossible to break out and see the truth? Well, interestingly, there are some strange aspects of our universe that lead certain scientists to think we might actually be living in one. First up, the mathematical nature of reality. Everywhere we look, the universe seems to follow incredibly precise mathematical laws. From the way planets orbit the sun to the behavior of subatomic particles, everything operates as if it's following a kind of cosmic software. In fact, some physicists have even compared the laws of nature to lines of code. One of the biggest supporters of this idea is theoretical physicist James Gates, who found strange error-correcting codes buried within the equations of supersymmetry, codes that are strikingly similar to those used in computer programs. Could the universe itself be running on a kind of cosmic software? Then there's the weirdness of quantum mechanics. At the smallest scales, particles don't seem to behave in ways that we would expect. For instance, in the famous double-slit experiment, particles like electrons don't seem to decide where they are or what state they're in until they're observed. It's almost like the universe is only rendering reality when someone's looking, just like a video game that only renders the parts of the world you're interacting with. Could this be a clue that our reality is in some way simulated? Now let's talk about something even weirder, glitches in the Matrix. You've probably experienced moments in your life where things just don't seem to add up. Maybe you've had déjà vu, where you feel like you've lived a moment before. Or maybe you've seen something that doesn't quite make sense, like a bird that seems frozen in midair. Some believe these could be glitches in the simulation, small errors in the code of reality itself. Of course, not everyone is convinced. One of the biggest problems with the theory is that so far, there's no concrete evidence to prove we're in a simulation. Yes, our universe might look like it's following computer code, but that could just be the way nature works. It doesn't necessarily mean we're in a digital world. Another major argument against the simulation hypothesis is that it's incredibly hard to simulate something as complex as human consciousness. Even with our most advanced supercomputers, we're nowhere near being able to simulate a human mind. And if we can't do it, why assume that some future civilization could? Then there's the big question. Why would any advanced civilization want to simulate us in the first place? Some speculate that future beings could be running simulations for research purposes, maybe to study their own history or understand their origins. Think about it. If you could create perfect simulations of entire worlds, wouldn't you be curious to see how they play out? Simulation theory and religion. Could simulation theory be a modern, high-tech twist on something humans have believed in for millennia? Throughout history, many religions have suggested that our world isn't the ultimate reality. In Hinduism, for example, the concept of Maya suggests that the physical world is an illusion. Similarly, in Christianity, there's the belief in heaven or an afterlife, a reality beyond this one. So, could simulation theory be science's way of reframing these ancient ideas? Now, don't get me wrong. Most scientists and philosophers aren't trying to turn simulation theory into a new religion. But it's fascinating to think about how this idea aligns with some of the core questions religion has always tried to answer. Who created us? Why are we here? And what happens when we die? Could the creator of our simulated universe be some kind of godlike entity? Or maybe even a team of advanced beings from another dimension? If simulation theory is correct, it raises deep philosophical questions about the nature of reality, the soul, and whether there's a purpose behind our existence. Are we part of an experiment? Entertainment? Or something else entirely? What would life be like if we discovered the truth? Okay, let's imagine for a second that tomorrow we do find proof that we're living in a simulation. What would that mean for us? How would life change if we discovered that everything around us is artificial? Some people might find comfort in the idea, believing that if we're in a simulation, maybe there's an escape, some kind of backdoor to reality. Others might be terrified, questioning the meaning of their lives and whether anything they've done matters. Imagine the possibilities. Would governments and scientists immediately start trying to hack the simulation? If we knew this world was coded, could we manipulate the laws of physics, change the rules of the game, or even escape the simulation altogether? On the flip side, if we learned we were in a simulation, would people start bending the rules? Maybe trying to glitch the system for personal gain? If you knew life was like a video game, would you start trying to level up faster, take risks, or find cheat codes? Or maybe nothing would change at all. After all, even if we're living in a simulation, we're still here, living our lives, forming relationships, pursuing dreams. Would the knowledge that our reality isn't the base reality actually make a difference to how we live day to day? The truth is, no one knows what the world would look like if we discovered the simulation. Some might embrace it, seeing it as a new frontier to explore. Others might panic, feeling that their entire existence has been undermined. Either way, it's a fascinating thought experiment, and it makes you wonder, would you want to know if we were in a simulation? Could we create our own simulations? Now let's flip the script. If we're living in a simulation, does that mean we could create our own? We're already building incredibly realistic virtual worlds in video games and virtual reality, and our technology is advancing rapidly. So could humans someday create simulations just as complex as the one we might be living in? In fact, we're already getting close. Today's video games and VR experiences are incredibly immersive, and AI is getting smarter by the day. Some AI programs can even simulate human conversations and behaviors almost perfectly. But here's the question. If we created a simulation with AI that's advanced enough to mimic human consciousness, would those AI beings be aware of their existence? Imagine if, one day, we built a virtual world that was so realistic, the characters in it thought they were real. How would we treat those simulated beings? Would they have rights? Could they revolt against us, their creators? And here's where things get really interesting. If we're able to create our own simulations, wouldn't that mean the beings in those simulations might also one day create their own? This could lead to an infinite stack of simulations, worlds within worlds within worlds. If that's the case, it's possible we're not in the first simulation, but somewhere in the middle of a long chain of simulated realities. And if we start creating our own simulations, we might end up contributing to that stack. Kind of mind-blowing, right? Could we ever escape the simulation? One final question that really gets people thinking is, if we're in a simulation, could we ever escape? Could there be some hidden exit or backdoor in the code, waiting to be found? Or, like characters in a video game, are we stuck here until the player decides to pull the plug? Some theorists suggest that if we knew what to look for, we might be able to detect anomalies in the fabric of reality. Little clues that point to the existence of a simulation. Think of it like Neo finding glitches in the Matrix. Maybe there's a way to uncover the source code of the universe. But even if we did, could we do anything with it? Could we hack the simulation, rewrite the rules, or even exit the program? Escaping a simulation might sound like pure sci-fi, but if this theory is true, it raises deep philosophical and ethical questions. Would escaping even be desirable? After all, we don't know what's outside the simulation. Maybe it's a less desirable reality than the one we're in now. Or maybe we're not meant to escape. Perhaps we're here for a reason, whether that's to learn, to experience, or simply to live. If this world is a simulation, it's still our world, with all the beauty, complexity, and challenges that come with it. Whether we're living in a base reality or inside a super advanced simulation, one thing's for sure. This theory challenges everything we think we know about the universe. It's fascinating, terrifying, and exhilarating all at once. And while we might not have the answers, the questions themselves are worth exploring. So, what do you think? Are we just characters in some cosmic video game? Elon Musk was quoted saying, "There's a 1,000,000,000 chance that we're in base reality." If you enjoyed today's deep dive into the simulation hypothesis, make sure to hit that like button. Until next time, stay curious and watch out for any glitches in the system.